Actor Ben McKenzie is here. He's known for his role in the OC and Gotham. He's been a vocal critic of the cryptocurrency industry. After delving into the world of crypto and interviewing players from regular holders to Sam Bankman-Fried, his scrutiny has led him to challenge its flaws and shortcomings and even testified in front of the Senate Banking Committee. He's got a new book out. It's called Easy Money, Cryptocurrency, Casino Capitalism, and the Golden Age of Fraud. It's co-authored with the journalist Jacob Silverman. He highlights the inherent risks and practices within the industry. Joining us right now is Ben McKenzie. Good morning.
Good morning.
So how did you first, we were talking about it off screen here, but how did you first get interested in this and decide that you wanted to go? I mean, you started writing articles about a couple of years ago about this and sort of taking to Twitter with your views of crypto, but how did this really evolve?
Well, like most Americans, I stumbled onto crypto through a friend of mine. A buddy of mine told me I should buy Bitcoin. Unfortunately, that friend of mine had given me the worst financial advice of my life.
What was the price of Bitcoin at the time?
2021, somewhere between like 40 and 50,000 or something, probably.
Okay.
He said I should buy it. I said, okay, what is this stuff? I have a degree in economics, and they weren't currencies. I mean, people weren't using them like currencies. They were using them as investments. That was odd to me. I didn't quite understand what that meant. So I went down the rabbit hole, and I just looked at the market structure, which is very interesting. Of course, most of the volume in crypto runs through overseas exchanges. Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX, headquartered in the Bahamas. Binance, which we actually don't know where that's headquartered. They have no headquarters, or so they claim. But there's a lot of shell corporations in the Caribbean that they're affiliated with. So that was interesting to me. So you're talking about an unregulated, unlicensed marketplace, more or less, run through shell corporations in the Caribbean. Interesting.
And you lost how much?
Oh, I know. I hate to disappoint the bros. I was a little early, and I did lose initially, but then I doubled down, which you should never do. And I actually did okay.
You did okay?
Yeah.
So you doubled down when it was down at, what, 15 or 20? Or, I mean, we're back down to 30,000.
Oh, I wasn't, like, shorting Bitcoin directly. I wouldn't do that. I don't trust the marketplace. It's the marketplace is pretty bad.
That's your biggest concern with it, the marketplace and how.
Well, my biggest concern is regular people who've lost a lot of money. You know, 40 to 50 million Americans invested in cryptocurrency. Most of them have lost money. Cryptocurrency, the market, closely resembles a Ponzi scheme or multi-level marketing scheme. And studies have shown that in MLMs, 99% of people lose. And the 1% benefits. In crypto, it would be the exchange owners, it would be the VC firms, it would be the people that issue the coins.
Would it be fixed if the regulatory structure were different, if the SEC or the CFTC or Congress laid rules to say which one of them was supposed to be in charge?
That would definitely help.
You think it
Crypto's
could be
benefited enormously from the gray area between how we classify securities and commodities. Bitcoin was classified as a commodity in 2014, I believe, because of a strict reading of the CEA, the Commodity Exchange Act of 1936, which, you know, the futures are being traded of Bitcoin, and therefore you could classify it as a commodity because it had not been classified.
How much of your issue is around Bitcoin versus the other currencies? Because I could even make an argument that the other currencies are even more precarious, if you will, than where Bitcoin really is.
Well, that's certainly true. I mean, even worse is probably how I would say it. I mean, at least with Bitcoin, theoretically, the number is limited, right? There are only 21 million Bitcoin that can ever be mined. Bitcoiners usually make a conflation there. They confuse limited supply with scarcity. Those are not the same things, as anyone with a degree in economics knows. Scarcity only occurs when demand exceeds supply at the price of zero. So something can be limited in supply and scarce because there's demand for it, or it can be limited in supply but not scarce.
Okay, you should talk to this gentleman over here, Mr. Joe.
No, because we are
because Joe likes Bitcoin.
I do, but I bought it at 4,000, and at the time said at the next halving, is it possible to go to 50 or 55? And it went from 4 to 62. So I had a much different experience than you. Sold most of it at 50. I guess I didn't have a lot in it,
no,
but I read
money, and I'm not.
No. And we have Tom Lee on earlier. He's great, smart guy, stock analyst, thinks Bitcoin's going to 200,000. So we have, Kathy Wood, BlackRock wants to have an ETF, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Paul Tudor Jones, Stan Druckenmiller.
Sure.
And just across the board. It didn't take me long to understand how the unbanked could benefit from this. And I also understand the distributed ledgers, and I understand it was only, I mean, I didn't, you say you did a deep dive. It only took me about 20 pages of the Bitcoin Standard to understand that this was probably something that, do you think all these firms are going to have egg on their face?
So the democratized, decentralized future of money is brought to you by BlackRock?
I don't know. Maybe. They may. I mean, if they think it's gold, if they think it's, you know,
that's why I was
digital gold.
Right, exactly, and that's why I was explaining the difference between
I heard that, but
and scarcity.
A lot of smart people are fooled by it. You think it's going to zero eventually?
No, that's like a. I mean, look.
Where do you think it's going?
Story. I can't predict the future any more than anyone else, but I would say this.
You think it's going lower?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think eventually there will not be something called Bitcoin?
It's a story. It'll last as long as people believe in it.